And right now, I am joined by Republican Congressman Robert Pittenger of the state of North Carolina. He's a member of the House Financial Services Committee. Congressman, I want to start with President Trump's comments. Let Obamacare fail. I'm not going to own it. Republicans are not going to own it. Now, according to the Congressional Budget Office, if Obamacare fails, 32 million more people will be uninsured. $137 billion is going to get added to the deficit, and premiums would double in 10 years. So if you are people at the lowest level in the income scale, you will literally and figuratively lose your coverage, pay up. Why does it make sense for the president? It doesn't matter if you're the right or the left politically. In terms of doing the right thing for the people, the idea, let Obamacare fail. How does that sit with you?
Well, it sounds like to me that Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats should have read it before they voted on it. This is their bill, and unfortunately it is collapsing. Major providers throughout the country are pulling out of the market. Premiums are going up. It is not affordable. This is not health care. Those who have health care, they really don't have it. The deductibles are so high.
Assume the American people agree with you. One of the reasons millions of people voted for President Trump is because they wanted repeal and replace.
I agree.
It is the Republicans who are failing to do that, sir.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I think we have a responsibility to do it. We did it in the House. We did our work. And I would say to the Senate, go back to work. We need to be a responsible government. You know, Ronald Reagan, he was absolutely so keen on how to govern. He'd say, I'd take 70% of what I want now and come back for the other 30% later. Some folks want to have it all today. You can't do that in a government that's built by consensus. That's how you pass legislation, even among our own ranks. So yes, there needs to be an understanding that those who sit around the table with us, those who represent states with different populations, variances, whether they're more aging or more poor or more urban or more rural, we have to consider that and know that they have different people that they have to represent. But one of the real problems is when you give out money, it's hard to take it back. And we have built very much an opportunity there for people to have access to money. The Medicaid reforms need to be a part of this because we need accountability. I've worked on Medicaid for 14 years as of the state Senate, and it is replete with fraud and abuse and waste of people who know how to exploit the system. If we give it back to the states and they have to manage it, you know, most of the money comes from the federal government. And the states, however, are the ones responsible for spending it. When we give it back to the states, then the states will become more accountable and give greater oversight over eligibility and over those providers that many of them know how to exploit the system. So there's a lot of good things in this bill that are conservative components, but responsible governing components that will bring us better health care, more affordable, and require less taxpayer dollars to do it.
That all sounds great, but how are you going to get that done? When I look at the Wall Street Journal Ed Ward that writes, "This self-inflicted fiasco is one of the greatest political failures in recent U.S. history, and the damage will echo for years." They are talking about the Republicans' failure to repeal and replace. And that's the Wall Street Journal saying it.
Yes,
then besides, let's get back to work, nuts and bolts, what has to get done?
I'm with you. I was with Senator Cornyn yesterday in a meeting, unrelated to this, but this obviously came up. He's the whip for the senators for the Republican Party in the Senate. He wants to get it done, and I appreciate the focus. The president wants to get it done. That's why he's called the senators over there. You know, all is not lost. I think cleared minds need to prevail. Some folks need to realize that they can't represent back to their district everything that they want. They've got to come together. There's 52 of them. There were 238 of us that had to come into agreement. So yes, it's hard to herd cats together. Speaker Ryan was able to do that, and I believe Mitch McConnell at the end of the day will accomplish his job.
All right, well, we'll find out. Thank you so much for joining me today. In addition to lunch, maybe it's going to need a theme song. Whip it good.